Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Totally Not Mark. In between me checking out his One Piece reviews, I will be checking out his Hunter x Hunter reviews. I love Hunter x Hunter, I think it's absolutely amazing. And I have actually managed to continue with the mangas. Volume 33, 34, 35 and 36 are within my possession. And I'd be interested to see that when he gets to the end of the anime, whether he's actually going to review them as well. Because that is not the end of the Dark Continent arc, that's what it's called, isn't it? Yes, on it. So I'd be interested to see whether he's just going to leave that or if he's just going to review what's there. But for now, we are starting with the beginning, because of course that's where you start. Part 1, The Hunter Exams. I love how this anime starts. I think it has a really strong beginning, and it'd be interested to see what Mark has to say on this.
Sponsored by NordVPN.
Whoa.
Hunter x Hunter has a better start to its story than most manga I've ever read. Dragon Ball, One Piece, JoJo's Bizarre
It's very strong. It's very strong.
Eventually got amazing.
Yeah, they
right
build up, don't they?
I sincerely believe Hunter x Hunter has reached a level of nuance and complexity far quicker and in a much more entertaining fashion early on. Having been born and raised in Ireland, shows like Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, Beyblade, and even Metabots made their respective cultural impacts here. Shows like
very true. I totally agree with him. I'm in the UK and we got the same shows.
Though I do remember it being spoken about here and there from time to time.
Yeah.
Hunter x Hunter? I never even heard of this thing until maybe my second year of college. And by that point,
I only started hearing of Hunter x Hunter after doing my anime reactions and stuff.
Fast forward to present day, thousands of recommendations later, while I still have little to no knowledge of this story, I find myself both excited and nervous. Excited because this is one of the most highly regarded shonen properties out there, with many telling me that aspects of it are better than One Piece. Now, we'll see if that's true, but I'm also nervous because this series has a bit of a reputation that comes along with it.
What, the hiatuses? Yeah, there you go.
Start to get into the meat of this series.
Hiatus, there you go.
I'll never shy away from a challenge. Just like my One Piece reviews, no matter what stands in my way, I intend to catch up with this critically acclaimed and globally beloved story in the only fashion I know how, by sharing this adventure with all of you. So, everyone, I hope you're ready, because these are my first impressions of, thoughts on, and review for the beautiful...
It's weird seeing the original anime clips.
tragic tale of a young boy in search of his father. This is my blind review of Hunter x Hunter's Hunter Exam.
Oh, it's so epic. Do 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 do. Yeah. Oh, the opening's so good.
Hunter has a wonderful, exciting, and horrifyingly scary world.
Yes.
The title Hunter is a broad term used to identify someone that's passed the Hunter exam and often specializes in different fields. And there are lots of murders.
Hisoka.
Hunter exam, a series of ludicrously intense challenges testing physical, mental, and
it's funny because it starts off fun, but then it's like, oh no, people are dying.
Of which most drop out or die.
Yeah.
I think the passing rate is something like 1 in 100,000.
He tries every time just to take the piss.
First arc for our main character, Gon, to attain his Hunter license.
Yay.
As I mentioned in the opening video, the pacing of the story was what surprised me and impressed me the most. Over the years, I've gotten used to there being a sort of warm-up period where the author
it builds up to, like, establishes the world and that, yeah.
necessary pieces for down the line. Both of these can feel significantly less fun than the latter parts of the series when placed alongside for comparison. However, Hunter x Hunter, it got going really quick, and by the second or third chapter, I was fully
I think it just slows down at Greed Island, but...
however, that unlike Akira Toriyama, who's previously written a successful story, yes, but in an entirely different genre, and Oda, who'd done one-shots before his outing with One Piece, Togashi had already penned the massively
Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Him a very seasoned and successful writer.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing from the beginning, yeah.
And already a master of his craft. Gon's introduction to this story, unlike many manga MCs that get a quick, upbeat, inciting incident with bouts of momentary sad elements, Hunter x Hunter instead feels like it's a story trying to convince me it's about adventure and friendship primarily, but in reality has some very serious themes of fatherhood, family, and abandonment lurking right beneath the surface.
So weird seeing the animation from that.
And subtle hint of poison in its text that kept me very interested, particularly in the early and latter stages of this arc specifically. This unease and awareness of this element also helped to highlight, for me at the least, just how wonderful of a character Gon is. And the first
Gon's great.
chapter is great in this respect. In addition to learning about his desire to pass the hunter exams and to become a hunter, all in an effort to find his possibly estranged father, there are pockets of certain key scenes where Gon demonstrates qualities yet unknown to me that inform actual hunters.
I don't like that they're showing clips from like later on with Kite and that. Unless this is no, because that's the first time to meet Kite is.
One specific scene that got me on Gon's side immediately has to be when he chose to protect that wild baby animal.
Oh wait, so because I've not read the manga. So does this in the manga then does that happen? And then later on we see Kite and it's not just out of nowhere. Okay, let me know down below, please.
This, I would think, crucial scene is cut from the most recent anime.
Right. Okay. There we go. Thank you.
This, I will always choose to read the manga as my primary source.
Right. That's cool.
Gon has an emotional story ahead of him, and
Because they use that as a flashback later to introduce Kite. Right. So that's wow. So Kite's in it at the beginning. Makes more sense when you see him.
Father figures are involved in a coming-of-age story like this, I am always a ball of emotions, and I know something big is on the horizon here, so I want to make sure that I get the experience Togashi wanted me to.
Right.
Unlike many shonen heroes, Gon's primary
I've only read
goal
from volume
isn't
33 onwards, so I can see what happens
necessarily
after the anime
to be a
ended.
or impressive hunter, but to reach and reconnect with his father. Unlike Dragon Ball or One Piece, where the protagonists have much more traditional shonen goals, in Hunter x Hunter, the typical shonen goal is no longer a goal, but a vehicle towards a much more complicated and
Yeah, it's like I want to become a hunter so I can then go find my dad kind of thing.
It's a launching off point towards something much more important to him, and I thought that was pretty interesting. He's a strong character, determined, kind, and boasting a tremendous attitude. And these chapters manage to endear me to Gon almost immediately, and that's important because as the arc quickly progresses into Gon's adventure with the Hunter exams, he ends up sharing more of the spotlight than you might expect the main protagonist to share. Thankfully, however,
Yeah,
those
man.
he shares the screen with
They're
are
class.
fantastic additions to help round out the cast. Enter Leorio and
Kurapika. Yeah, man.
Once again, this is where I think Togashi's brilliant and much welcome desire to show and not tell comes into focus. Early on in these stories, a lot of the
Hits him in
exposition
the head.
about a given character is often clunky, serving the purpose of getting the
Ooh,
right pieces of
foreshadowing with a
information
spider
out of the way as
there.
quickly as possible, thus giving our main character reason to recruit them or have them follow along on their journey. One Piece tells us a lot about the reputation and abilities Zoro has before we ever meet him, and this is what draws Luffy to Zoro in the first place. In Dragon Ball, Goku joins Bulma in what will
We'll
eventually
search for the
become
Dragon
a big
Balls.
adventure after she divulges the necessary information. All this is honestly perfectly serviceable, but in Hunter x Hunter, Togashi doesn't tell us who Leorio or Kurapika
They just throws them in, yeah.
right off the bat, and in fact, there's no clunky means with which they come into contact at all. Gon is simply on a ship bound for the Hunter exams, and the rocky seas incapacitate all but the three of them.
They
As it
survived,
happens,
yeah.
Those rough seas were part of the
A test.
preliminary
The
Hunter
captain.
exams themselves, meaning the qualities that make these characters who they are is what created the natural circumstances that led to their eventual meeting. And this is achieved without any words. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Furthermore, their relationship and role in this opening scene together, I believe, beautifully foreshadows something important to come. Okay, so hear me out.
Okay.
When one of the crew members falls overboard during the storm, altogether the three of them leap forward towards the fallen crew member. Now, this obviously tells us a lot about these
Yes,
characters'
it does. They are
personalities
good
and their
people.
willingness to put themselves in danger to protect someone in trouble, but I noticed maybe something else.
Oh.
Despite being in a worse position to reach the crew member on time, Gon still manages to reach his target or goal before Kurapika and Leorio can. However, it is still up to Leorio and Kurapika
To save.
each grab one of Gon's legs and pull him back onto the ship.
Okay, here we go.
Metaphorically speaking, this could be interpreted as Gon is gifted and therefore has the potential to go farther than both of them,
But-
can't last on his own. He needs them to ground him
Ooh,
and
I like
protect him
that.
when he overextends himself. Without Gon, the man would have fallen overboard to his death.
I mean, I like
Without
that.
Kurapika and
Talk about
Leorio,
taking a
Gon
scene and
may
then,
very
like,
well have died trying to
analyzing it,
save that
jeez.
man. In other words, they need each other.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant scene.
Yeah, that's
Just
cool,
the
yeah,
first
they work
two
well as a
chapters.
team, basically,
We
yeah.
have our goal to pass the Hunter exam and to use that as a platform to find Jing, Gon's father. We have this new group of friends to follow. Gon, a character I know will make me cry at least once before this video is done, and two tremendous supporting characters in the brainy and noble Kurapika and the brash but kind Leorio.
Leorio, he wants the
Particularly
money.
instances here and there sprinkled throughout where Gon shows that he's just a decent person I adore, being the only one to thank the sea captain after he lands the ship, leading that very sea captain to point him in the right direction.
Yeah, helps him out, doesn't he? He's like, this is where you need to go, that's
The
cool.
impressive physical attributes of Gon are not all that's being judged here. But okay, enough beating around the bush. It's time to get into the real meat and potatoes of this arc.
Alright.
It's time for the real Hunter exam.
The actual exams, come on, let's go into it.
The following challenges all offer something very different, and this is particularly what makes this section of the story
This is
so
exemplary.
damn fun. One chapter is spent trying to figure out a dilemma posed by an old lady.
Power-wise.
Another is a whodunit mystery.
The design is
happening
substantial.
at once, and another is a whole lot of running. And
The running
these
bit,
are
I
just
love
one
it.
of
It's
the
just
few of the
basically
first
just an
ones.
endurance.
All these challenges are funny or engaging in their own respective ways, but the real reason they're there is to offer us as an audience a number of unique and great opportunities to get to know these characters just that little bit more
Killua.
personally. And this
With a
works as
skateboard
effectively
that we
as it
never
does
see ever
because
again.
a number of these challenges are specifically designed in universe to give the Hunter Association a means with which to judge each of their personalities. And by association, we the audience gain that insight too. Whether that be through figuring out Leorio's initial shallow motivation to earn money actually comes from an altruistic place in wanting to
Yeah, like he needs it to be able to get medical
or
supplies, yeah.
Kurapika, who's driven by an intense urge to avenge his people's massacre. To all of these characters, the Hunter likes to
Sasuke.
represent the ultimate goal, but a means to an end goal. Something they all share in common, which plays a large role in the success of my favorite early challenge, the running segment.
The running segment.
It's beyond ridiculous. Speaking as someone that did a bit of running in the past, the very concept of this follow the leader running challenge made me laugh out loud at the sheer scale and preposterousness of the event.
Yeah.
It's just so damn long. It's like an ultra marathon, but at marathon length.
I've ran a
Olympian
marathon.
level pace,
I'd hate to just not know when I'm finishing. At least with that, you know you're getting to an end.
In around 6 hours, the first person drops out as the rest of the examinees ridicule him for not being enough. I'm sorry, I didn't realize everyone running in this race is literally Eliud Kipchoge on steroids. I mean, they didn't need to drink water or eat food or
Anything, yeah.
Thankfully, though, I get my representation amongst these demigods of athletics through the humble Leorio, who, like a normal human being, is struggling massively.
Yes, I
putting on
love
a
it.
brave face.
Love it.
It's Mr. Leorio. And speaking of Leorio, this is where I learned to love him. His tenacity and desire to not appear lesser than the rest is stupendously fun, in tandem with his hilarious depiction in the manga running shirtless. I mean, the dude runs like 3 sub-3-hour marathons back to back, all the while carrying his briefcase.
Yeah, and then
What
all of a sudden
an
it's just like,
absolute
ugh.
Chadosaurus Rex.
Chadosaurus
What I found
Rex, love it.
interesting was that at a number of times throughout these various challenges, multiple individuals remark in amazement at what Gon is able to do. Whether it be athletically, how well he can hear,
Or just make
see,
friends out of
even
anyone.
taste. His abilities when performing what's asked of him during these challenges hint, at least to me, towards something specifically special about Gon. Though nothing that outshines his personality and attitude towards conflict and his friends.
That's cool.
He chose being a hunter over his own son. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
What? No context dub scene.
Outside of the much appreciated and humorous cooking challenge, I thought 2 instances stood out to me as the most noteworthy, and
Right.
it has to do with the character of Killua. Much the same way as I outlined before, we learn about Killua not through clunky exposition, but instead, quite interestingly, by the choices he makes or doesn't make when faced with conflict in this arc. Killua at this time in the story seems to me to be tied with Gon thematically. They first meet at the beginning of The Great Run.
The Great Run.
During it become fast friends. However, when faced with the dilemma of staying with Killua charging ahead or going back to help his friends, Gon, without hesitation, goes back for his friends, Leorio and Kurapika, landing one of the most satisfying hits I've ever experienced so early in a series.
Bam, with a fishing rod,
Save
man.
for Leorio against the creepy clown
Hisoka.
Okay, more on him a little later.
Whoa.
Again, just to reiterate, this is still ridiculously early on in the story, and already I'm so invested in Togashi's writing that shots like this make me scream
That's
with
class.
delight. A sign of things to come, I hope. But at this point, however, I didn't recognize this particular decision as anything significant to Killua until I found this scene to be very telling. While in transit to their next challenge, and while everyone is sleeping from the Great Run, the chairman of the Hunter Association
Oh, this bit was
challenges
so
Gon and Killua
good.
to a game of ball. visual and distraction from the past contests, this particular challenge is also a great mechanism to help us as an audience to further distinguish between...
There's also some major foreshadowing here as well for Netero.
Through the eyes of Netero, we learn that Killua has assassin-type skills, but perhaps most interestingly, as soon as Killua gets an indication that the old guy is far above his level and that he cannot
He just bows out, yeah.
he gives up. But Gon keeps trying. Meaning, it doesn't matter to Gon one way or the other if he can win or not, he just wants to best himself.
Because Netero only uses one arm, one leg, doesn't he?
Around Killua and brightens Gon's
And what happens to Netero later?
reinforced moments later by this horrific panel depicting Killua slaughtering a bunch of people in the hallway. And then it made me think, every time Gon and Killua separate after their eventual meeting, it's due to some key character differences between them. Instead of keeping his head in the game towards the front of the pack with Killua, Gon went back to save his friends, and instead of giving up in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds like Killua did, Gon stuck it out and eventually improved upon his prior efforts. I love Killua's character. He's in many ways an inversion of the Gon character with enough in common to build a believable friendship between the two. He's got a dark past, and as we later learn down the line, this is primarily due to a troubled family
His
history.
family man, the Zoldikes, man. Oh, don't mess with the
An
Zoldikes.
interesting relationship, most definitely, and things only get more intense as we make our way through the final 3 phases.
Oh my god, the tower. This is
longest
sick.
challenge presented to our team so far. Chronicled across 8 individual chapters, our heroes end up grouping together to overcome the unique challenges this tower presents as they endeavor to make it all the way to the bottom in the allotted time. The team is composed of Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio,
Of course.
all characters we are happy with, but the conflict in this story comes about as the Rookie Crusher joins the team.
Oh, yeah.
Up to the name, he pretty much tries to sabotage everything, and I hate him. In this
Yeah, he's a
tower of
pain in the
trickery,
ass, but
there's
it's
really
quite
only 2
entertaining to
natural
watch,
points of
to
noteworthy
read, whatever.
conflict. The first takes place in a form of a 5v5 contest as our team of examinees square up against 5 prisoners looking to waste as much time as possible so that they can get that time off of their sentences. Welcome to Hunter x Hunter, where children get to fight literal in-universe psychopaths and murderers for
Yep.
their very lives. There's a great mix of
It's a
lighthearted
great time.
comedy, clever mystery writing, and even some great action. And so, first up is the Rookie Crusher, looking to show his team that he's actually a team, but just kidding, he quits.
Yep.
I don't know what you could have been expecting.
1-0.
Alright, the score here is 0-1 in favor of the prisoners, and the second round sees Gon participate in a weird candle-holding game. To be honest, I really enjoyed this one. It was strangely effective in building tension, and what's more is, Gon found a quick and clever solution to this worsening scenario. He's not a dumb guy. Scores even at 1-1 apiece. Third up,
He
on the
seems
hero
dumb, but he's
team
clever.
is Kurapika. This one really offers him a chance to explore his more aggressive side. I never mentioned this, but he becomes enraged or emotionally compromised when his eyes glow red, and he'll show very little restraint when they do so. As an audience, we knew this about Kurapika before the fight began, and
Yeah,
so
we've
when it
already
comes
been
to our
shown, so we're just like,
attention that the dude
see
he's
what we
facing
can-
doesn't have any intention
we
of
can
coming
do.
to blows and is in fact a coward, we know things aren't going to end well.
The
for him.
spider thing, yeah.
And this is where things got a little clever, deviating from the simple formula and starting to become less predictable. There's some clever manipulation of the rules during this portion. Kurapika won't kill him, and so all this dude's gotta do is play dead. Having Leorio carry out this deed is a great choice from an audience standpoint. Kurapika already proved to us that he's awesome, and so didn't need to finish him. We all knew that he could.
Yeah.
And because Leorio's section ultimately ends in failure and relies largely on comedy, Leorio's quick solution to get Kurapika the victory helped to even out his worth in my mind. It's a small thing, but these are decisions that make or break comedic scenarios. Had Leorio done nothing to help his team prior to throwing so many points away in exchange for touching a breast, those
Yeah.
moments would have a greater chance of coming across as annoying in retrospect. In short, the victory Leorio got for Kurapika is as much his, and the loss is also his. And so now, with the
Yep.
contest all even, it comes down to this bruiser of a prison. Killua wins.
Yep,
I mean,
he just
come on,
takes
the
his
kid's
heart
a
out
cold-blooded killer.
with his hand,
What did you expect?
puts it in a bag.
He literally stole his heart.
Na-na-na-na-na.
Now, this is where we get to my favorite part of this challenge. The guys are left with one last decision, a choice between 2 paths.
Which door do they
One will allow
take?
only some of them to make it in time, and the other one they can all take, but it's a significantly longer trek, and they definitely won't make it in time if they take that route. Now, in preparation for this first review, I was shown some of the anime's key moments from this arc, and this was one of them. And funnily enough, the anime both in the 1999 version and the 2011 version make this scene, I think, worse, and Gon less intelligent or impressive. In the manga,
Really?
Gon pieces together a solution to their issue that gets everyone there on time.
Oh,
And
right.
he comes up with this when he sees the weapons on the wall and recalls that those they faced in the previous contest managed to break the ground or rocks around them using only their hands. And so, using that piece of info coupled with this dilemma they have, he devises a plan to tunnel from the bad path to the good path. Everyone wins. Genius decision. I was very impressed. But in both anime adaptations, instead of recalling this vital piece of information from earlier in the challenge, Leorio and the others start fighting amongst themselves, and that's when he notices the weapons break the ground that way. It's significantly less impressive both from a writing standpoint and a God standpoint.
Yeah, that would have been cooler if Gon actually just went, you know what, yeah, give me a smart moment.
It's a fun scene in both the manga and the anime, but the manga does this much better, I think. But that's it, the Hunter and the Hunted. This challenge has a really exciting premise
Oh,
that pits
mate.
unlikely opponents against
When they've got to get each other's
It's a
numbers.
manhunt of sorts where each contender is given an ID badge representing themselves. Each candidate then draws lots, and through this, they randomly receive their individual target. If they have their own ID badge by the end, that's 3 points. If they get their target's ID badge by the end, that's an additional 3 points. Every badge in your possession that isn't yours or your target's, you get 1 point, and you need 6 to pass overall. It's such a fun game, and
So you can pass by just having yours. No!
This
Yeah, that's
Hisoka
gonna be
guy
tough.
is drawn all sorts of creepy, and the way he participates in these ongoing challenges as the numbers whittle down more and more becomes somewhat intimidating. And for the
He is
first time
scary.
since Gon made the save on Leorio during the running segment, actually managing to land a shot on Hisoka and getting super scared of the weird killer clown man, Gon has to face his fear and through his own strategy has to figure out how to best the clear frontrunner among the remaining contestants. Killua goes about things on his own to great success, but
Of
Gon
course.
and Hisoka pretty much play a role in everyone else's business at one point or another during this contest. There's some supremely creepy imagery as Gon is forced to stalk Hisoka for days, waiting for the perfect chance to land the steal. And even then, after the fact, the only reason Gon got to keep the ID was because Hisoka was impressed with his patience and skill in securing
Yeah, he was just like, fine, I want you to fight me again
reflect
sometime
on
and hit
all the
me.
mistakes he made leading up to that point. It's a big growing moment for Gon.
Okay.
I also like this section because we got to see the blossoming bromance between Kurapika and Leorio develop even further. And if the previous challenges and chapters leading up to this one didn't demonstrate the wonderful friendship these three all have, then the ending for this particular phase will secure that particular hang-up for you, as all their individual character traits aid in solving the cave snake problem they found themselves in towards the end. But long story short, Togashi is goated, and
I love how as well that they remember every character as well. Like that girl with the blue hat comes in later, doesn't she? And everyone else gets a moment. I love it, it's class.
Hisoka is there among a few others.
Like it's like Chimera Ant arc where like the guy with the arrows just gets absolutely murdered and the girl with the hat as well.
This was a moment I wasn't prepared for, and one that makes a lot of sense when taking into account the greater context of the story. There's a sort of melancholic maturity to Gon as a character. He's a sort of tragic and lonely protagonist. It really helps to bolster why he doesn't want to be alone, and even sheds light as to why he sought out Kurapika and Leorio after he had already passed the previous round. He's a lonely soul and wants to feel worthwhile, and that's... I don't even know what to say to that.
Sad.
I love it. And
Sad, it's sad.
What's been achieved with this character in just the first arc of the series. And Togashi isn't done surprisingly with him either yet. Not by a long shot.
Nope, nowhere
For the
near.
final phase, now there's only one step standing between our heroes and their
Oh, the
licenses
tournament
to
arc.
hunters. And Togashi opts to utilize the most traditional shonen challenge here for this final phase, a series of one-on-one fights, and he decides to present it in a rather unconventional way.
Yeah,
One of the
make it
aspects
different.
I thought was sort of neat was how, in addition to intelligence and physical awareness being judged, an intangible was taken into consideration when drawing up the brackets. And as a result of this intangible, Gon got one of the most favorable and forgiving of placings. All they have to do is win one fight to get their respective licenses, and Gon's placing here means that he could afford to lose a number of contests and still have a chance to get his license in the end. And first up, he has to fight
Oh
Hanzo
my God.
the Ninja. This fight is brutal.
Yep, it is.
A
Very
capital
brutal.
B. The only way
Jesus.
someone can win is if their opponent quits. And shockingly, despite seeing him overcome most physical challenges with apparent ease, Gon is put on the back foot.
Yes, he is. He struggles with this.
From the moment the fight begins. Hanzo is demonstrably more skilled in combat, and through a series of, at times, difficult-to-watch scenarios, Hanzo inflicts more pain unto Gon in 3 hours than many might receive in their lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he just goes in.
And anger, Kurapika and Leorio are on the verge of throwing away what they have and interfering with the fight, fearing that Gon's life is at stake here. And then we get to chapter 34. And to be perfectly clear here, chapters like this don't normally affect me the way this one has. I've been blown away by chapters, characters, and events in One Piece an absurd amount of times, and while moments from that series broke me down emotionally with relentless sadness, all of those moments in One Piece that made me emotional, in one way or another, on some level, even if it's minute, I felt coming ever so slightly. But with this chapter, I was completely taken off guard. Something I want to bring to your attention is that I don't write these scripts as I read, and at this point in the story I had completely forgotten what Gon said or outlined in chapter 1 regarding his motivation. And so, when Hanzo begins berating Gon and asking if his pride is the reason he won't quit, my mind sort of reverted to what I expect from other shonen. A lot of stories in this genre tend to value and praise pridefulness or a pride in oneself. And truth be told, even as a Dragon Ball fan, I've never liked the idea of embracing pride that way. There's a terrific quote from Avatar: The Last Airbender wherein Iroh says, "Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source," and that statement is true.
Wow.
However, much to my surprise, after 3 hours of a one-sided beatdown, after breaking Gon's arm in two,
That was
Hanzo
nasty,
shouts,
that, yeah.
"Is your pride all you care about, even more than your own life?" Cutting through the silence, Gon quietly responds, "I want to see my dad." 6 words, and I was left utterly speechless. Expecting one thing out of habit and familiarity with this genre, and instead received a sobering wake-up call that this story, Hunter x Hunter, is something truly special.
I apologise. Next door must be doing some work or something. Jesus Christ, I can't believe they're drilling while I'm trying to record a video.
Here, Hunter x Hunter cemented for me its very own identity. It's unlike anything I've ever read. An incredibly strong character and one of the most relatable and likable personalities I've ever come across. That in just 6 words,
I
immediately
want to see my dad.
recontextualized
That's
the fight and
powerful.
made it the most emotionally rich experience a first arc of any story has given me. I do not have words, and so please take the time, if you haven't already, to read or watch this for yourselves. It's truly something special and one I will not forget. This was a very surprising but welcome swerve. Instead of tackling the events of the tournament after the emotional high of that last bout, Togashi decided to conclude the tournament off-screen while giving us the surprising and tragic outcomes of the event from Gon's perspective as he awakens from his bout.
Yeah, he gets told what happened, and he...
failed and killed someone. Choices in structuring your story like Togashi has made here is but one of the many choices that afforded this story the breezy and enjoyable pacing it boasts. Naturally, I have so many questions concerning the future of Killua, and as I learn what happened piece by piece, the truly creepy nature behind Killua's family partially reveals itself, lending insight into what likely is the source of all the pain he's demonstrated through this first arc, with his brother brandishing philosophies that match up exactly to his attitude in quitting early in the ballgame. It's unsettling to see what sort of hold Illumi has over Killua and the reaction Gon has to the event once he learns what happened. Much like Gon, Killua is a kid looking for connection. A connection Gon, Leorio, and Kurapika assure that they share with him and his brother.
That's
This is the
class.
first time I've seen Gon take action against somebody that clearly is levels above where most people are currently.
Yeah,
at.
definitely. He doesn't care, does he? He's just like, excuse me.
A character like Hisoka, particularly leading up to and during the Forest ID Hunt contest, Gon was visibly shaken by his initial encounter with the crazed clown, and rightfully so. He's terrified.
Definitely, he's so
And
intimidating.
In response to this, Gon had to practice a very specific skill to facilitate a strategic and well-placed steal, which he eventually succeeds in performing. However, when it comes to Illumi, Killua's brother, Gon literally breaks his arm after grabbing it in anger. And after this reprimanding, Illumi lets Hisoka know that he now understands what he sees in him. Throughout this arc, from various characters' point of view, they've all cited that with Gon there is something very special, with the sea captain even being reminded of one particular person. I assume this is Jing. There's a power in Gon that has yet to fully surface, and it'll be interesting to see how this story continues to explore. explore that, particularly because we understand how emotionally rich some of the subject matter here is. With that said, despite Leorio, Kurapika, and Gon having received their hunter licenses in this instance, the
Yay!
ending to this arc is one of bitterness and concern for the future of their friend. And perhaps most interestingly, Kite, the hunter that encountered Gon in Chapter 1, left him his father's card. What that means for the future I can't say for sure, but as the heroes of this journey begin making their way towards Killua's family home, I can't help but feel the excitement in me build as I ponder what awaits these phenomenally realized characters in the future.
It's so good, I love it.
This arc, and thinking back over what I've read, I'm left dumbfounded, not only at the pacing of events, but this feeling of familiarity I now associate with this series. The characters are wonderfully funny, interesting, and heartwarming in equal measure, with a sort of tragedy that manages to seep through the pages if you look out for it or think about it for long enough. This arc alone had moments that had me on the edge of my seat and have me shedding tears for characters I've only just recently gotten to know. I can only assume this is a great sign of things to come, and if Hunter x Hunter can keep things up, it might very well measure up to One Piece in my estimation. But it is still very early days yet, and
Yeah,
these
man, it's only the
characters
first
have
part.
only just started this no doubt long and harrowing journey of self-discovery. But what a start it has been.
Hell yes. That was class. I can't believe Next Door is drilling in the last 5 minutes of this video. God damn it. But anyway, that was a good review. I like watching these as well because it's a nice little recap on the story itself as well, and I do like that he is showing certain differences between the anime and the manga, because I am anime only up until the end of the anime, duh. So, because initially I was like, oh, why are they showing clips from the Chimera and Antark, but then not. It's actually how it was originally done, so I like that. It makes more sense that they introduced Kite that early on, so that when we see him, it doesn't just seem like it's out of nowhere and made up. That's cool, because they show the flashback, it's like, oh, you could just make that up anytime, but if they actually have that, and then, you know, as a quick one, Kite's there, he saves him, blah, blah, he knows who he is when he sees him, that's cool. So, yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click the like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you're watching and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.